Hello there! Guess what? My friend gave me the coolest gift. This giant pile of fireweed or burnweed. Why? Well, this was growing in a place it was not supposed to be. Now, here we are, one giant pile of fireweed later. And I'm really excited. You know, there is a person named Jasmine Star that has this really cool saying, "Overwhelm is the abundance we once prayed for." And I have definitely found that to be true this year. I have found so much this year. Enough that I'm like, what am I gonna do with this? And that is an excellent problem to have. So, what to do with all of these fireweed? Well, first of all, we should probably check and see what fireweed does, right? Let's look in our handy dandy binder of all information. So from the Peterson Field Guide version 3, we find that this was used externally for rheumatism, sciatica, contusions, wounds, ulcers. But also used for diarrhea, cystitis, which seems to be like kidney infection type thing. From the biology of Canadian weeds, we find that Native Americans use this for skin diseases, hemorrhages, poison ivy, but also internal things like menstrual disorders, gonorrhea. Look, we don't judge here on the homestead. Dysentery, cholera. It's also been used for eczema and hemorrhoids. So this is a really versatile plant, and it's really interesting to see the different things it's been used for. And that means that probably there are a variety of ways that we should preserve this. For an internal issue, we usually use either a tincture, which is putting the plant matter in alcohol, or a tea, which involves, hot water. Now, for a tincture, generally, I and Mama Owl usually let the plant wilt a little bit, get excess moisture out, and then we make the tincture. For a tea, usually you dry the plant matter. In this case, the part that seems to have benefit is the leaves. And then for skin issues, usually you want to infuse the parts of the plant that are powerful into an oil. If you're going to use fresh plant matter to infuse your oil, you're going to want to let the plant wilt, similar to how you do for a tincture, for a while, and then you put it into the oil and let it infuse. Or if you want to use dried plant matter to make your oil, then you have to dry the leaves. So it looks like we're going to be drying some of these, and we're going to be letting some of these just kind of wilt through the night. But the first step is always the same. That is going through these plants, finding the leaves that are still good, and putting them all aside to be washed. Now, there are a few plants that you can't wash because you lose some of the properties. Also, I'm going to save the tops because the flowering parts, because I don't remember if these have medicinal benefits or not. I'm going to do some checking. I may find more information before I come back. But these, when you're using leaves, generally, unless there's some info I don't know, those you are going to wash before you use them, just in case, like they got some dirt on them or whatever. They're out in nature, things can happen. So we're going to take the leaves that have parts torn off, the leaves that have bites in them from bugs, and we're going to leave those on the stalk. But the ones that are nice, we're going to pluck them off, and we're going to put them in a bowl, which I need to get a bowl. I was going to do this on on a lawn chair here out in the yard, but I can't find my lawn chairs. I don't know if my husband maybe put them up or I put them up when we mowed last, or if somebody stole them. Because I feel like yesterday my husband sat out on these. So he might have put them in the garage. But regardless, I can't find my garage key because I perpetually lose literally everything. So I have no idea where they are. So I think I'm going to take these inside, and I will come back when I have gotten a bunch of these ready to process. And I'll show you how I wash them and what I do next. Oh no, the bowl is full. Time to wash these off. Now it's time to dump all of the leaves so far in here. And we're going to cover them with nice cold water. As they go about their business, we are going to squish them around. Not really squish, but you know what I'm saying. We're going to move them around. Swish. That's the word. We're going to swish them around. So as I took these leaves off, I tried to watch for any dirt or debris or anything like that. But you know what? It's always good to just do a second check, rinse them off. And now I let the water out and we're going to just spray them. And we're going to slowly bring them back into the bowl. Spraying each chunk a bit. Empty the leaves into this colander. And we're going to just let them drain for about 10 minutes. So now we're just going to kind of spread these leaves out on a towel. And we're going to leave them to wilt for the night. Well, I kind of changed my mind. There's so many leaves that they aren't really able to be put in just one layer. So I tossed some onto a baking sheet. I'm putting them in my oven at the lowest possible setting for just about like 10 minutes maybe. Just long enough to dry them a little bit. That way I can at least cut them up and put them in the dehydrator maybe. Don't forget to leave the door cracked so the moisture can come out with the air. I wound up cutting these up, just laying the leaves out and slicing them, just so that they can have a little more space to lay around. They just lay a little better. I also went ahead and put some in the dehydrator. I'll turn it on to about 95 or 104 degrees, probably 104. And I'll probably put it in for 6 hours, see what happens. The ones that are on the table, I'm going to leave to wilt through the night, and I'll check on them in the morning. It's been about a day, and here is the section of plant material that we set out to wilt in the area where the calendula had fallen. So we're going to take this and we're going to infuse it into an oil. And then over here, we have another big chunk of plant matter. We're going to take this and we're going to make a tincture. Let's get started. Now, I don't have a double boiler yet, so I use this tiny crock pot, a bowl. I toss my plant matter in. There's a little more there. Yes, there's going to be a little calendula in that, and that's fine. This is just a test run to just kind of see how this does as an infused oil, how it smells, how it feels on your skin. So it's not one that I won't be selling this particular jar. And we're going to find some oil to put on top. We are going to put some oil. Yes, there's an ant walking around on the outside. What the heck? I just picked you up. I'm going to put enough oil on top to cover it and a bit extra. And then we're going to turn this on to low and leave it overnight. Now, for our tincture, we're going to need a jar, some 100 proof vodka, and some plant matter. So we're going to put some in. We don't want it to be all the way full, but we do want it to be pretty close. And then we're going to top that off with our vodka. Again, this is a test run. It's not going to be perfect. Oh, no, this is not what you want. You really don't want this air all at the top. But we're out of vodka, so we're going to make it work. And we're going to keep this in a cool, dark place for, I believe, 6 to 8 weeks. So we're going to label the jar so we don't forget what it is and when it needs to come out, and leave it for the moment. Now, I will say I'm not positive that I had the ratios exactly right for this, so do not use this as a how-to for tincturing. Just kind of showing you what my process is, not really giving you a model to follow. So we're going to shake that, and we'll do that about every day for the next 6 to 8 weeks. And now we'll start on what we dehydrated. Now here we've got our dehydrated burnweed, and you can hear it crunching, which is a good sign. Now that one doesn't seem as crunchy as I would like, but the bulk of them do. So we're going to take them, we're going to put them in a pickle jar that has been washed thoroughly. I cannot stand pickles, so trust me when I say these are washed out well after my husband is done eating the pickles. And once we get them in, what we're gonna do, what I do, is I squish them up with my hand, and then I'm gonna add the next section. Now, as you can see, I made a giant mess, but the plant matter is pretty well ground up with my hands. We're going to put the lid on, and every day for about a week, we're going to shake it and make sure that none of it is clumping together, none of it is sticking to the sides, and if it is, we're gonna go back to the dehydrator with this. But guess what? We still have more of our plant matter. So back to the dehydrator we go. And check out all the goodness that was made from the burnweed. This jar here is all dried plant material that can be used for teas and other things later on. This is my tincture. So, you know, I said I didn't have enough of the vodka. So I'm guessing I'll have to throw this out. Honestly, I may not even have recorded that portion. So if I didn't record it, I made a Burnweed tincture, but didn't have enough vodka. So yeah, that's probably gonna be a fail, but I'm gonna ask Mama Owl and see if it's too late to add in more vodka. And I've got an infused burnweed oil. So what's really interesting about this, I had always read about how horrible burnweed smells. And when I picked it, I was like, I don't smell anything at all. And then as I started to process it and I was, you know, ripping off leaves and things like that, I was like, okay, I kind of smell something, but it's not terrible. And the oil, the infused oil actually doesn't have that much scent. But the dehydrated plant material, oh my God, it's so terrible. I cannot imagine making a tea from that. And honestly, I think it was more of a like tea to put on skin things, because I cannot imagine anyone willingly drinking something that smells that bad. Anyway, I'm curious. Have you ever heard of burnweed before? Do you know of any other uses for it? Or if not, what are you preserving at your house? Let me know in the comments, and as always, I'll see you next time. Eat something wild, but probably not stinky burnweed.